to Undercurrent Youth's podcast series, doing one-on-one interviews with really interesting people in the fisheries and aquaculture industry globally. And I'm delighted today to welcome Sarah Olabisi, who has worked for several years in Nigeria for Olam as a technical manager and managing the relationship with farmers, and really at the forefront of trying to build the Nigerian aquaculture industry. Right now, she's gone on to do a master's of agriculture at Reading University in the UK, where she joins me from now, and also you're involved in a really interesting project again with aquaculture, but in Asia. We'll get to that. But thanks for joining me, Sarah. I really wanted to get into this super interesting topic, which is at West Africa and Nigeria. It seems to be, it's such a big opportunity in aquaculture to develop those industries. And I've been following your podcast series for the last couple of years because I've had you on LinkedIn and I've seen you, frequently come up with interesting videos and insights. I just wondered if you could give us an overview of right now of what's happening in the Nigerian aquaculture industry. What we know is, just to sort of give everybody a backdrop, this is a country that imports an incredible amount of fish each year, and the government is really it's a top priority to build the local aquaculture industry and reduce this kind of import deficit. So yeah, what's your take on where things are at and where they need to go?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. And I'll just quickly dig into the issue at hand. The aquaculture industry in Nigeria is not novel, and we have a lot of bright minds, both in the fishing industry itself, in the aquaculture industry, as farmers, as and even in academics, in research. And it's quite interesting because Nigeria is next to Egypt in aquaculture in Africa. But there is a wide gap between the production tonnage in Egypt and Nigeria, despite Nigeria being the second. That means there is a lot of opportunities yet to be explored or tapped in Nigeria. And I would link it to the fact that Nigerians love fish a lot. That is why we are not even meeting up with our domestic demand of fish yet. Even at about 800,000 tons annually of both fisheries and aquaculture, we are not meeting the about 2.1 million demand, 2.1 million metric tons demand of fish. I think that's why I think the taste and the quest for eating fish has been one of the reasons why Nigeria has been importing a lot of fish. Then I think maybe I'll be talking more from my point of view here. I won't be making references. I won't be quoting people, but it's still from my years of research, my years of working in the industry, and my years of understanding. So my figures may be here and there in between. What the thing is, we initially we as citizens didn't dig deep enough to see the opportunities that lay ahead, and we were just quite relaxed and okay with importing. But over the years, it has dawned on us, and people have started exploring the industry. But we have a lot of constraints. Technology-wise, we are still far behind. We are not exactly crude, but we have not attained the heights of technology you will find in the Americas and even some other Asian countries, and of course Europe. That's one. So that will always limit our scale of production. You know that, and of course funding. There's still all of this technology and advancement and technical know-how will still require funding. It always requires funding, either to get education, either to get training, either to acquire machineries or whatever we need to do it in a more technical and in a more modern way. So
Right,
that's
Sarah.
why.
So no, yeah, no, that's great. I was going to say, like, we've seen like the government kind of open and shut the door to imports in a bid to kind of try and foster this aquaculture development. And I think that the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Sabo Nanono, has said that they're looking to again stop fish imports by 2022. Do you think that's like a realistic target?
2022 is not exactly realistic, because I think it's cool that they close and open these borders so that people can know that yes, they are serious about this. But I think they should have made more provision before closing up the borders. We should have
Right,
invested. Yes, we should first. It's just like when you want to do a launching of a new building or of sorts. You see most commercial buildings, when they are in progress, they usually put this thing around it like a shield, and first do all the most of the construction work. And when they are like at the tail end, when the building is like looking nice and fine, then they open up that film that they've used to cover it. So I think we ought to have first of all gone into a kind of hibernation, not a total shutdown, and develop inwardly. And by developing, it means by putting fund out there, by putting technology out there, by putting, and then I'll just say an enabling environment. There are people who are ready to work, people who are ready to do agriculture, people who are ready to do aquaculture, people who are ready to do fisheries, but they need everything that it takes to put it down. So I think we should have done that, created an enabling environment, and study and adjust policies as well to favor people who are coming or who are already in that industrial sector. Then maybe over a space of say 2, 3, 4 years, when we've attained some level of maturity and independence, then we can start shutting. Because if we just shut without making provisions, how are people going to feed? A lot of people, we need to fill the protein gap. So one way or the other, people need to eat fish. People need to get protein for fish. If they are not able to get, if we are not meeting that domestic gap already, we are just producing about 800,000. And in fact, in aquaculture, we are just producing
right.
about 50,000 annually. How do we fill that gap of 2.1 million or so that is actually demanded or
Yeah,
required?
right.
So
And I think I've seen as well that
I know the government have good
I
intentions. They
think
want us to grow domestically and all, but there was something they ought to have done first.
right, right. I think it's a bit of it's my connection issue. But I think you've been on the ground working for Olam, and Olam, for everybody that doesn't know, is one of these major feed companies that and agricultural trading companies. It's based in Singapore and has a presence in Nigeria, and it's actually been growing very fast. And also Skretting is also in West Africa, and both these companies are kind of looking to assist the development of this aquaculture sector. Sarah, you've been on the ground teaching farmers technology, techniques, kind of enabling techniques to get farming operations underway. What would you say are like the biggest challenges that these entrepreneurs face to get from perhaps the initial stages from startup to like a full.
The major challenges have been fund, technology, and interest. And I think the three are intertwined. If you have interest and you don't have access to fund and technology, what's the point? If you have fund and you don't have interest, you're not going to go into agriculture, you'll go into something else. And if you have
Right.
technology and you don't have the fund and the interest, there's no point. So those three things are intertwined. But over the years, I've realized that more youths are getting interested in agriculture and agribusiness, and of course, aquaculture. But this enabling environment is still not there. We have a lot of graduates from aquaculture and fisheries management, and people have ended up carrying their files and looking for white collar jobs because there's nothing they will use to. It's easy to tell people, oh, start small, start from somewhere, but for how long? If I go to school, I study agriculture or aquaculture or fisheries, and I have to go back to form a queue behind farmers, behind my parents or my grandparents who have been doing traditional fish farming or traditional aquaculture. Why did I go to school for 4, 5, 6 years? Then they lose interest and like there's no point. So it's based on those three things: enabling
Yeah,
environment.
yeah, it's sad. What do you think could happen to improve that situation? Realistically, what could the government do? What could foreign entities do that are coming in that have technology? What where could change happen in the best way?
Yeah. For starters, I think in terms of policy, more adjustment or more enactment on existing policies can be done to make the value chain more favorable. Then interest, for instance, when I initial way back and even up to now, everybody's goal as a science student in secondary or high school is to become a medical doctor or a surgeon or an engineer. Can we first fix that? Our parents already thought that for us to be successful, we had to study medicine. I hated myself all through uni as an undergrad because I felt I was good enough for medicine. Why would I be in agriculture? Who gave me agriculture? I cried my eyes out. I hated myself. I wasn't even doing so well in my first 2, 3 years at school. So, first of all, aside the fact that policies have to be adjusted, I think there have to be some sort of encouragement and incentives behind studying agriculture, either in undergrad, either in postgrad, or even as technical courses and even short time courses and even training, just regular technical trainings for people who are interested. Then
Right.
if that interest has been intrigued, and if nobody is feeling like a second class citizen for studying agriculture or aquaculture or fisheries, then we've conquered one of our enemies or of our problems. Then we move to the fact that funding has to be put in place. I know it's hard to just put funding out there, but there are ways that it can be put out there and controlled to get into the right hands and the capable hands. Funding is a problem in not only Nigeria, but many African countries and developing countries. Funding has
Right,
to be
right.
found.
Yeah. You
Value chain
mentioned the
has to be developed.
right, right. Again, sorry, I think it's my connection a little bit.
All right.
the You mentioned the value chain. How do I mean the big popular fish in Nigeria is catfish, isn't it? And then you have tilapia as well. If you get into farming in Nigeria and you start to produce catfish and tilapia, how do those prices compare with the imports? Is it difficult to? It sounds like it's difficult to make a profit on prices. And often with these countries, there's sometimes a middleman structure where it's difficult to actually obtain the best market price, right? And I just wondered if that's
Yeah. Thank you. Can you hear me?
yes,
Okay.
I can hear you. I think I just had another internet disruption. It's raining heavily where I am.
It's
I
all right.
think the internet is not great.
So the value chain in Nigeria is not well structured and very developed. It's the market is so saturated that today when you get to a farm, maybe a farm cluster, and there are 50 fish farmers there because maybe last year was good. By the time you come next year, you might not find one or two people in that farm cluster again. One, they didn't break even. Two, because the economic situation is really not so favorable, people, even when associations try to regulate prices, people out of need for money still end up selling fish at prices that do not really favor them, that they barely make profit. And that's because the market is not structured, the value chain is not structured. And another problem is we still do what we still do practice aquaculture just like people practice rain fed farming. We still wait for the rains to stock fish. Then everybody stocks fish at once. Then everybody has fish at once. Then there is glut. Then there is post-harvest loss. All of these things discourage people from coming again next year. There is no much value. Most of the time, people just sell their catfish live and just call people, oh, please come and buy my fish. Then they buy. The market women are the ones making profits. Because the farmer doesn't have a lot of means to sell his fish in batches or to put his fish in some form of storage or processing. He's under pressure to just quickly sell off to the market woman, the middle woman, who then comes, pick everything and at ridiculous prices and begins to make marginalized profit on it, and the market just gets all scattered and saturated. So the farmers keep going on poor every year while the middlemen smile. Then so people are not encouraged, and in the end, the value addition aspect is not being explored. When once everybody just only, that is why you at some point there's no catfish in the market because it's the dry season. All these kind of things, we ought to have gone beyond that level now. By now we should be able to have catfish all year round without anybody being under pressure to sell at some ridiculous prices during fish glut, and then hoard, and people who are able to have fish during dry season now hoard and inflate unnecessarily. So
Yeah.
this value chain needs to be critically managed, understood.
How can you fix it? That would be my question.
How it can
What's
be
your best guess on that?
how it can be fixed? There are so many ways about it, but from my own experience, I think one, if people are as if there can be more investment in value addition, either from, I don't know, from government, from private sectors, more, an inclusive business model and a value chain analysis. That's actually what I'm proposing in my dissertation, which is about government strategies to improve aquaculture, to improve sustainable livelihoods through aquaculture. The value chain analysis, the inclusive business model that allows everybody on the value chain, both from the producer, who is the farmer, and the tail end seller, to have a kind of equal, almost equal playground. The farmer sells at a very good price to people who are going to develop it into value added products. Those ones also sell at good prices. So nobody's going home poorer while somebody's going home richer. There has to be an investment in that value chain. Whoever, local companies, international companies, non-government organization, government, have to develop the value chain. That is when people can start making a livelihood out of aquaculture. Our value chain is underdeveloped.
Yeah. Right. And you bring so much first-hand knowledge to that study. It's going to be fascinating to see what conclusions you come up with. I mean, obviously Olam and Skretting are trying to develop this industry, trying to get it to, as you mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, the Egypt volumes for 800,000 tons a year. And obviously that would be a great kind of target. But how would you, what policies or what strategies do they have to try?
What did you say last?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the internet again. So yeah, just what strategies that Olam and Skretting have in place to achieve this target of trying to get to those kind of, let's get to the Egypt type volumes where there's almost no longer a need for imports.
These companies have done a lot. For instance, Olam, when I was in Olam, and which is what they still do in Olam. Olam employed, lots of people as aquaculture technical executives, which I was before I then became a regional aquaculture technical manager. And basically what Olam employed these people for is to relate with farmers and help them on a day-to-day basis to increase their productivity, to increase their profitability. We do lots of trainings, teach best training seminars teach best aquaculture practices to help them, manage cost of production, increase productivity, increase profitability. Then Olam, especially in terms of the price of feed, Olam came in with feed that were not, on the high end, that gave value for money. But that will only fix some problem. Except Olam and Scretin want to come as off-takers, even if they can't empower farmers to have value addition channels. Except they want to come in and off-takers, buy the fish at good price, then add value to the fish and put it out in the markets. Except they do that, they've only been able to help farmers solve a little of their problem. They've done their best. They're a profit-oriented company. They are not NGOs. Olam have done what they can. Scretin have done what they can. And they even go as far as sometimes sometimes running partnered trials with some farmers, giving them free feed to feed fish from maybe start to finish. They've gone as far as I even see Scretin sometimes do this partner with NGOs to give some farm clusters smoking cane and all of that. But even the smoking cane are traditional ones. They won't take us to that level. They can only alleviate some immediate economic issues. There has to be partnership between government, non-government,
Right.
and private sector companies to really develop our value chain.
Yeah, that's very interesting. What's your best case on demand is right now for how much demand is going up right now in Nigeria for fish?
Sorry, you still have to come again. Your network.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm trying to mute, and I was just saying that what type of demand do you think there is in Nigeria right now? Is it double-digit growth every year for fish, or does it sort of move up and down with high or low prices?
It moves up and down. It moves up and down. The market itself is unstable and highly saturated.
Right. So highly saturated with imports, I imagine.
Yes.
And where are most of the imports coming from? Would you say it's just internationally sourced, or are there a lot of some of the West African countries are importing a lot of Chinese fish, for example? What's the case in Nigeria?
Yeah. No. In Nigeria, it comes from a lot of places. To an extent, I'm trying to be careful with my words, but to an extent, the boundaries are not that tightly. There are the ones that are recorded, like the regular ones that will come from, say, China, and then there are even the ones that come as sipping through the ship from different backyard conditions. And I think the government really needs to do something about this.
Yeah,
Can't
yeah.
just say this is the quantity or quality or entrance of this imported fishes.
Right. I've heard of there's an aquaculture industry in Benin, which is a border country, right? And I think a lot of fish comes from there. So there's that kind of problem as well, even within aquaculture. It's not just wild capture.
Yes, you are right.
Right. So that would again it sort of undermines the local aquaculture industry in a sense, right? Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
that's the.
To be honest, I think I know that the aquaculture industry in Nigeria is very interesting. It's growing. It's so different from it was 50 years ago. It's growing, but growth is relative. It's not just about us having many more young people coming, having 1 pond, 2 pond, doing fishery for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and running away. No, we need to define and establish our market more. Nigeria is blessed with coastlines and all of that can be used for some kind of offshore aquaculture. Nigeria has a lot of dams that can be used for cage aquaculture, because it's, agribusiness is a business of scale, and the larger the scale, the better it is economically. I would get better if I had like 5 kgs on a dam in my state within 5 years than if I had 2 ponds in my backyard and it was only growing by maybe 1 extra pond every year. For instance, in my dissertation, I'm critically examining 2 states, Lagos State and Ekiti State. Ekiti State is my home state, is where I'm from. And we have dams in Ekiti State. And I keep thinking in my head how much revenue even my state government would generate if we had cages on those waters. I know, of course, there have to be some regulation, there have to be some health check and all of that.
Right.
Yes, station check and all, but there are ways around it. I keep thinking in my head how many youths will be employed, directly or indirectly. I keep thinking in my mind the cash inflow. I keep thinking of so many things. In fact, my state government was talking about having a cargo airline and all. I keep thinking what even the cage aquaculture alone would add to the things that the cargo airline can do. I know there are ideas, there are sharp minds everywhere, and I know that people are talking, people are making efforts, even in government, in policy making, people are making efforts. I know that things are a bit complicated because Nigeria being a developing country, struggling in between recession, oil boom, end of oil boom, all of that. And I'm sure that definitely things will take shape. And I'll also urge young Nigerians like me to keep doing the best we can, because now the baton is more like in our hands. I remember the last time I went to my state, I saw people that were my classmates in primary and secondary school. I already saw them in the House of Assembly. I already saw them representing even at the federal level. So it's no longer like something I'll keep saying our leaders should. We're already the leaders.
Right.
I know other people too will be doing their bit, but we just need to intensify efforts more because the population keeps growing. So we can't go at an arithmetic progression. We have to go on a geometric. We have to think fast, act fast.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned as well that the scale is such an important factor. With aquaculture, we often see companies that are sort of national champions, that they'll do more than $100 million of revenue a year. A lot of people have said that that's the model that Africa needs as well. You see companies like Yalelo in Zambia, kind of. Do you think you need more of these kinds of companies to really get it going?
Yes. In fact, at every opportunity I have, I'm always pleading to that companies should please come invest in Nigeria. In fact, I wrote a book, and I was and the title of the book is Agribusiness Opportunities Every Business-Oriented African Should Look Into. I purposely put the book on Amazon so that Africans abroad in diaspora can see this and come and invest. A lot of Africans have some money somewhere or some, and they're like, what can I go into? And I know the situation might not look that friendly, but there are ways around it. If we do our due diligence, if we do our studies and all, as many companies should please come and invest in Nigeria. Olam is in Nigeria and they are doing fantabulously well. Scretin is there. Ala Aqua is there. Food companies are there. And there are the opportunities in the African aquaculture and agriculture industry generally. There are many and cannot even be exhausted. So as many people, as many companies that want to invest in aquaculture I encourage them to come to Nigeria.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure that book, I guess you can probably find it on Amazon by key searching your name, right?
Yes.
Right. That's great. And now you're joining a company called FinsTrust's, which is in Southeast Asia. It's in Indonesia, and you're going to move to Indonesia this year. And it's about the traceability of seafood. And you're going to bring this wealth of experience from West Africa to Indonesia. What do you think is you'll bring to that industry? Again, Southeast Asia is another case where we need development. There's huge small scale aquaculture but there's a big need for obviously better practices, traceability, etc. What do you think you bring to that?
Yeah, for starters, I think I know that my I, the, I have two kinds of experience, two major kinds of experience from the Nigerian industry. The experience I've had as a farmer, as you know, just a farmer, a fish farmer, and I have the business experience that I've gained from the animal feed business in Olam. So I think it's going to be an interesting thing. I know that there are some knowledge I've gained, and again the knowledge I've gained in my study at the University of Reading at the Graduate Institute, because I'm actually in the Graduate Institute of International Development, Agriculture and Economics. So it's a mix. I've learned a lot about the theories and practices of development. I've learned a lot about agricultural project management and planning. I've learned a lot about international development and even environmental justice, like bringing a synchrony between, because agriculture can also be polluting the environment.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
bringing, like, practicing a climate safe, environment safe agriculture, that's what we need mostly in Southeast Asia and Nigeria. So I'll be merging that knowledge and that quest for knowledge as well, because I know I'll be learning too in Indonesia. So it's going to be an interesting mix. I know that for FinsTrust's to have employed me or brought me on the team, they've seen some things, and they know that I'll be able to do my bit. I'll be contributing experience. I wouldn't say I'm that knowledgeable. I'm young. I'm learning every day. But the experience is what I think I'll be bringing, and there is a lot embedded in experience, no matter how small or how short the time.
Yeah,
Even the little things I never took note of that I picked along the way would eventually become useful there. When
that's fun. That's fantastic. And I mean, would you expect in?
another thing I know I'll be
Hmm,
taking there. I've really gathered a lot of experience in relating with farmers on the most basic level, like the rural, especially rural farmers, and not even rural, even suburban farmers, like the smallest scale farmers, even the farmer with one pond, even the farmer with prospect who has not even owned a pond, and the farmer with the big commercial farm. I know how to relate with these farmers. I at a time in Olam, even during my transition to regional aquaculture technical manager, I held three different roles as an aquaculture technical executive within 2 years. I started as an aquaculture technical executive. Within a month, I was made aquaculture technical executive for special projects. For some reason, the company did not go on with that project. We shifted. I was later made key account manager, and I was managing the accounts of over 5,000 farms that we had in our database in Nigeria. And later, I was first made regional aquaculture and commercial manager. Before, the animal feed and protein company in Olam was also new, and we were like trying things, doing that and all. Before we now like had some clarity on roles and all, then I was made the regional aquaculture technical manager. That was when they now had other regional aquaculture technical managers for other regions. It was when I was so. This is not bragging. I'm a learner. I'm from the most humble point of view. I'm just saying that I've had the opportunity of engaging with people, farmers across different ethnic groups, different religious beliefs, different traditional beliefs, different business orientations and business capacities. So that's and my quest for knowledge is what I'll be taking with me to Indonesia.
yeah, yeah, and I can attest to that as I've seen that many videos that you've made in the Nigerian space. Training farmers, and that's a great thing. I hope you would eventually become back to your developing this big challenge of developing African agriculture, right? Because as you said, that it needs people like you, right?
I hope.
take it forward. That's great. Well, Sarah, thanks very much for joining me on the podcast. We've reached the time. It's been a great chat. We could have talked for a lot more, but that's really good. It's great to hear the challenges from your point of view. So again, thanks very much.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for bringing me on here, and I wish you good luck in your further interviews. And I'll be keeping tab. I'll be watching. I learned a lot from the ones I've watched, and I'm happy about this podcast series.
Great. Yeah. I'm looking out for your dissertation. I'd be really, really interested to see that. Okay. So thanks very much.
Bye, Matt.
Bye.